So I'm really excited to invite you to today's session, our second Prep with the Pro for the winter quarter on networking and building confidence and making connections. And we're really excited to be joined by one of our recruiting partners, Todd Prochko of Consolidated Electrical Distributors. And Todd is a highly experienced recruiter and a longtime champion of students. And he's eager to share his insights on networking and why it matters and where to network and how to get started. And this is going to be an interactive networking event. We're going to actually encourage you to come on screen and chat with us, because this is going to be really, really useful. And Todd likes to have this be an interactive discussion. Again, we encourage you to come off camera or come on camera and join in the conversation when you feel comfortable. So as we move through today's discussion, please feel free to share your questions in the chat at any time. Both Elena and I are going to be looking at that. We'll address the topics as we go or as we transition between the topics, and we'll set aside time at the end to cover anything we haven't discussed as of then. And again, be sure to come off camera or on camera if you want. One last thing before we start the presentation. UC recognizes that our programs occur on the unceded territory of the indigenous peoples of California, and that these lands were and continue to be of great importance to them. Every member of our community has and continues to benefit from the use and stewardship of these lands. With respect and gratitude, we acknowledge and make visible our relationship to the original caretakers. And now, as promised, it is my great pleasure to welcome Todd Prochko to discuss all things networking. Take it away, Todd.
Thank you, Diane. I appreciate it. How y'all doing? Thankful for everybody that's joined. I'm looking at this network like a pro. I don't know if I'm a pro, but I've been doing this a while. And so I hope I have some experience to talk to you guys about. And what I would say to you before we get going is, I was starting to tell Elena and Diana when I was in school and my background, I went to Michigan State, graduated in the 90s, let's put it that way. And loved my experience there, but I did not take advantage of a lot of the stuff that went on because I was kind of scared to do it, I think, for lack of a better term. So even to this day with experience, when I hear networking, that term just kind of makes me cringe because it always seems scary to me. And I think the term networking still sounds scary to me. And hopefully what we talk about in doing this, and it won't be scary. So you guys are helping me as much as I'm trying to help you. So please participate is what I was going to say. And I like to give presentations to where there's questions I'll ask you in the presentation and shout it out and participate, and don't be intimidated. I'm pretty easy to get along with, I think. So anyway, I've been doing what I do for 27 years. I work for a company called CED. I don't have a slide with this, so I'll just give you a little background. CED is a nationwide distributor of electrical products. So that can be anything and everything that powers the buildings that you are in, your house, a classroom, the Starbucks you go to, anywhere you go, every building has to have electrical, and CED sells all this stuff on a commercial level. We do it across the country. We have 800 locations across the country. We're a California originated company. We've been in business since 1957. Our opportunities that we offer students range from internships, junior and above, management training, sales training, project management, pretty wide variety of positions. So if you have any interest in anything with CED, my email will be on the last slide, and you're welcome to reach out to me. All right. So I guess network like a pro. Let's go to the next slide. Thanks, Diana. So the first question, why network? And I'll ask you this question. What's the point of networking? Anybody? Just shout it out. Why do we want to network? I'll call on you. Nicholas, tell me, why do we network?
To get ahead of the rest of the candidates.
Yeah, yeah, that can be one of the reasons. There's several, but that's one of them, sure. Um, does the thought of networking scare the you know what out of you? It did me. I was petrified of networking. When I started doing networking, it was all in person. So you guys are going to do potentially an in-person networking event next week. And in-person networking is great. It's a lot of fun. But to me, it was doubly scary because back in the old days, you would go to big networking events, and I'm talking like you go to the LA Convention Center, and there were thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and you would be told to bring business cards. And when I got into what I'm doing, they'd go make contacts, and I'm thinking, what in the world? I'm walking around with business cards talking to strangers. This is terrible, and it's scary. As we are in today's world, there's different ways to network. There's a lot more opportunities for you all to network. And the great thing about being in this situation is you're actually saying, how do I do it? What are the effective ways to do it? And why am I doing it? And that's what it's taken me years to figure out is why do you network? And what are you actually trying to do? So as you become more experienced, networking will become easier. Does anybody have an idea of why that is? Why networking might be easier for me than it would for one of y'all?
Practice.
Maya, I was going to call on you. That was perfect. Good job. Practice. Yeah, that's part of it. What else? What do I have that you don't have as far as like being in the business world? Experience. There you go. Thank you, Rohil. Experience. So I go into a networking situation. I have plenty to talk about. Nobody's going to ask me a question for the most part that I can't answer. That just takes time. So it does get easier as you go forward. You're probably in one of the harder times to network is when you're a college student looking to get into the world. It's a tough. So what they're doing with an event like next week is they're giving you the opportunity to try and practice and try to get used to it in a university setting. We're going to talk about that as well. So next slide, please. Here's some reasons I put down of why we network. Find a job. That's, if you're in school, your goal is to find a job. So that's one of the reasons. If you're in the business world, like I was doing when I started out, I was trying to create business. I was working for a firm and I wanted to find businesses that would be interested in my service. You can sell a product or a service, or people can find a product or a service. So those are four main reasons of why networking. Can you think of any other ones? If there's any ones that I didn't put down, shout them out. Okay. Next slide, please. So I will admit there were two slides in this presentation that I used AI for, and this is one of them. I've heard of this, but I was like, okay, this is interesting, so I'm going to put this in. The 3 P's of networking. Purpose, people, and process. So purpose is trying to figure out why am I networking, right? It's kind of like what Nicholas said, like, there's reasons to network. You have to figure out what your reason is. So there's the purpose. And there's the people when you are networking, whether it's in person, generally in person or LinkedIn, you're trying to identify who am I going to connect with? What's the purpose of what I'm doing? And then who do I need to connect with? Who are the people? And then the process is, kind of figuring out how you're going to go about it. Are you going to go to an in-person networking event? Are you going to, do LinkedIn, other forms of social media, join a fraternity, join a sorority. We'll get into the different areas, but the 3 P's of networking is I'm being honest, is what AI thought was important for you guys to know. So there you go. Next slide, please. The essential skills. You need to, have I hate the term elevator pitch. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I knew what it meant for a lot of years. I was like, an elevator pitch. Has anybody ever heard of elevator pitch? Has anyone not heard of elevator pitch? An elevator pitch. Nicholas, I'm going to pick on you again. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I've heard of the term.
Yeah. Okay. So you think it's pretty well known? Everybody knows what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Where does it get its name? Do you know?
it's supposed to be like hypothetically, if you were like pitching some sort of new business or something you were trying to sell in an elevator with a higher out person.
Yeah. You get an elevator and there's a person there and they say, "Tell me about yourself," right? Who are you? What do you do? And you're supposed to be able to tell them about yourself. So that's what an elevator pitch is. It's a, quick overview of who you are and what you offer. I would tell all of you, if you're going to do networking, especially in person, have an elevator pitch. I've gone to a lot of networking events. Here's my key takeaway from having an elevator pitch: make it natural. Don't just meet somebody and blast an elevator pitch at them. You want to say, "Hi, my name is Maya, and how are you today?" And talk a little bit, and then naturally try to tell the person about yourself, but try to have that elevator pitch be natural. um, and just have it be something that you know about yourself. You don't want to have to read an elevator pitch off a piece of paper or off your phone. You want to have it in your head, and you want to just be able to talk to somebody. Hey, Nicholas, I'm Todd. I went to Michigan State. I had a lot of leadership positions in my fraternity, and I moved to Southern California 28 years ago with $200 in my name, and somehow I got into recruiting with an electrical distributor and had a pretty successful career recruiting universities and bringing talent into a company. There you go. There's kind of a natural elevator pitch about me. More of the skills you would need: active listening. When you're talking to somebody at a networking event, focus on them, look them in the eye. And then, when you get a chance after you've been able to pitch yourself, ask them questions about themselves. I'll give you a real good way to get people to like you: be interested in them. It doesn't matter what you're doing. I've been in interviews with managers, and they'll sit there and talk to somebody in an interview, and they talk for 40 minutes and they think it was a great interview. And they'll go, "Did you think that was a great interview?" I said, "Well, you talked for 40 minutes. If you want to get somebody engaged with you, ask them about themselves. They will instantly like you." It's just a little unwritten rule. Follow up. If you've connected with someone, you want to follow up with them. Email, LinkedIn, and do what you say you're going to do. If you do connect with someone, make sure you do follow up. And the bottom one, I think, is probably the most important, and it kind of takes everything, the first three, and puts it all together. Manage relationships authentically. You would be surprised how many people, or how few people, do that. And we'll talk as we get into some more slides a little more about that. But you want to know how you have to be able to manage relationships right. And what I say there is, know when to let them go, know when to pick up the pace. Some relationships will grow and some will go. And business relationships are a lot like friendships. You want them to be authentic. You have to manage them differently. Some people in your professional portfolio you need to talk to regularly. Some people you don't talk to all that often. You have to learn how to manage those relationships. Okay, next slide. Okay. Different networking channels. There's digital, in person, and then daily life. So digital is going to be primarily in business, LinkedIn. Handshake is obviously a university digital platform. There's Epic Hire, other forms of social media. You all can tell me what those are. I'm aware of them. I'll be honest, I don't use social media beyond LinkedIn. I'm aware of all of them. It's just not of my generation. So you guys can tell me if you think other platforms of social media are great for networking. LinkedIn is primarily for business. In person, you've got, mixers, university contacts or events, contacts you meet if you do internships. You might work part-time jobs and make contacts there. In person, when are your age, almost you can make contacts anywhere, because that's the time in your life when, the grown-ups that they know you're looking to, you're in school and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do. So you can even, your parents' friends, friends of friends might meet a random person in an elevator or at a Starbucks or somewhere, and you might, talk to that person in line and, hey, I'm going to school. I'm at UCSB. I'm this major. You never know. So that's why, again, you want that elevator pitch to not be so much as of an elevator pitch, but just have in your mind a way to summarize yourself, because you never know where you're going to run into somebody that might be able and be willing to help you. Any questions on any of this so far? Okay. Next slide. This was a slide I put together, just networking events that are in person in your world, in the university world specifically. Career fairs, classrooms. So things that I do at universities, I go to career fairs. And sometimes I'll meet somebody at a career fair and it'll be the right time to, set them up and put them into the interview process. Sometimes I just meet students, maybe they're first year, second year. It's too early, but I meet them. We connect on LinkedIn and we stay in touch. They see all the stuff that we're doing over the course of the next couple of years. And then, they're in their junior year and they send me a message and they're like, hey, can I interview for an internship? Yep. So, that's a classic. Like I tell students when you go to career fairs, that's networking in a great way. That's legitimately networking. One of the things that I want to say when you're in all these things here that I do, career fairs, speaking to classrooms, speaking to clubs, speaking to fraternal or organizations, all of those things I do at universities, and all of those things are networking, and those are networking with students, often one-on-one. And that is what I would say is a very legitimate, solid connection. So networking can take the form of like what you might do next week in a networking thing, but it also might just be all of these kinds of situations and you actually connect with somebody. The more genuine the connection is, the better that connection's going to be. If you legitimately talk to somebody and you find you have something in common, or what you're studying might work with their business or whatever, if there's some sort of genuine connection. I mean, I will give you an example. Diana, she and I met at UCSB. She was outside we were at a career fair. I did not know Diana. I was sitting outside having lunch. She was at the table working that for the career center. And we just started talking. And she would like told me who she was. I told her who I was, and we started talking, and it was like, what a great connection. I needed to meet her, but I didn't know who she was. So that's like a legitimate connection. We were networking, and all it was just I'm sitting there eating my lunch. Hey, how are you? What do you do? So that's what you want when you're trying to do networking is, the reason why networking to me was always scary was I felt like it was going to be a bunch of false, fake connections. And so what I would tell y'all to keep in mind is when you're at these different types of events, I used to say when I went to a university, when I started doing the job, I want to meet one person at the university on every event that I do. I want to meet one person from the university that I can connect with. I don't need to meet 10 or 20, just one good one. So keep that in mind as you're doing networking events. It's great to connect with as many people as you can, but make sure the connections are legitimate.
Can
Next
I add
slide.
something? Can I add
Yeah,
something real quick? Because I think
sure.
so
Absolutely.
when you're talking about you and me when we met and everything, one of the things I think students worry about is that maybe they feel like they don't have anything to offer. And so they're kind of coming into these conversations in a powerless way.
Yeah.
Or, they don't have anything to give back. But truly, the reason that employers are coming to our campus next week and for our career fairs or whatever is because they want to talk with the students. They want to talk with you. You have something that they want, which is your talent. And so if you can talk with them and sort of shift your parameter, the way you think about things, you have something that they want. So if you go up and tell them what it is that you have, it just makes it really makes things work. You have something that they want. You have power. You have agency in all of this. Which is kind of like,
100%.
yeah, you and I, we had something that the other person wanted.
That's 100% true, and it's a great point. And what I would bring up to the students is, and it's funny to me that I do what I do for a living because when I was, the student's age, I was kind of what I thought I was shy. I felt like I didn't have anything to offer, and I didn't want to talk to anybody like me. And what I would implore everybody to do is what Diana said: talk to people. You have something to offer. As an employer, we're coming to a university and specifically UCSB saying, we want to talk to students. We have internships to fill. We have positions to fill after you graduate, and we want to talk to as many students as we can and, make legitimate connections along the way. So, yeah, don't feel like you shouldn't. Please do. It's my one regret that I have, and my background, I went the fraternity route, and I actually held leadership positions in my fraternity, and that was the beginning of like me realizing I have something to offer, right? And then everything became easier, but I regret that I didn't do more through the university. So y'all are smart to be here and be doing this. There should be 5,000 people in this thing. Not that I think I'm so important, just in general. I think you guys are doing the right thing, trying to learn. All right, LinkedIn. Is everybody here on LinkedIn? Yeah, pretty much. Let's start out. Tell me what you like and do not like about LinkedIn. And I mean, I'll take as many people as want to say something. I just am curious. I've been on LinkedIn for 20 years, but if y'all are a little newer, what do you like about LinkedIn? What don't you? Just shout it out. Elena, what do you like about LinkedIn and what don't you like about LinkedIn? I'll pick on you because the students aren't saying anything right now.
Um, I'll start with what I don't like about
Yep.
it.
Mhm.
And this actually was also feedback when I was at a career fair from an employer. But what I don't like about it, I think now it's become really super transactional just
Yeah.
to connect. And it's, one of the employers said to me, yeah, it was kind of strange before I even like really finished my conversation or we even really got to know each other. The student just asked me, so can I connect with you on LinkedIn? And I think that's what I don't like about it, is that it's kind of might be thought of as a like a friend, like you're friending someone, but it's more
Yeah.
than that. And so I think we just have to be careful about that. What I do like is that it's kind of, there's a lot of opportunities on there.
Yeah.
And you can filter it and, personalize it to whatever you're looking for. So that's me, but there's also some activity in the chat.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Yeah, Rahil says it's nice to have access to information about companies and their employees. Connections seem meaningless, yeah, or just for the sake of a number on the screen.
Yeah.
Mia says, I don't like that it's becoming a bit more like social media.
Right.
But she likes that you can learn about new career paths and opportunities.
So my opinion is you guys are right. Elena, you're right. The students that were in the chat are right. And that's why I'm asking these questions, because I've been on LinkedIn. So I'll tell you, I've been on LinkedIn so long. I want to tell you, I think I started on LinkedIn in 2003. And LinkedIn back then, it almost went away because my opinion is my generation wasn't ready for it. I'm Gen X, by the way. When everybody is talking about generation, I have to get a plug in for Gen X, I guess. But it almost went away because we weren't really ready for it. It kind of was there, but it didn't really get that big. And then when the millennials came in, it started to really gain ground because their generation was ready for it. So I look at LinkedIn as a platform that I've used over a lot of years. And what I will tell you with LinkedIn to people in your generation is LinkedIn is not social media. I don't care what anybody says. Don't treat it as such. Don't use it as such. Be different, because I see stuff on LinkedIn now all the time that I think content, like, I'm like, I don't know what people are doing on there. And you have to be responsible when you're on any of your social media, but especially LinkedIn, because was created as a business networking platform. Do not try to accumulate as many contacts as possible, quality over quantity. I think people think, well, I need to have as many contacts on LinkedIn as possible. Hey, there could be people that are in certain professions where, that behooves them to do that. But my general guideline for you would be, don't just send requests out to everybody. Try to have some sort of a personal relationship with that person. Like, you go to a networking mixer, you meet people, and then you connect with them on LinkedIn. That is an absolutely legitimate way to do it. I generally will not approve requests that of people I don't know. And I think less of the people that do that. So I'm giving you some like real world, try to manage your LinkedIn, be responsible with it. Don't be afraid to be different. Don't be afraid to be uh, conservative in how you're managing that account, because again, LinkedIn is not Facebook. It's not X. It's not all the other things that are out there. It is a different platform. Even though it has changed a little bit, it's still different. And I can't emphasize that enough. One of the things that I see on LinkedIn all the time are people that are in business that are having discussions on LinkedIn about things that have no place on LinkedIn, in my opinion. Politics, beyond that, I mean, that is LinkedIn. Again, I'm going to reiterate it. It's for business. And when you're on LinkedIn, you have to think, okay, I'm a student, but I'm trying to be an employee, or I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to be something. So just remember, when you're on LinkedIn, just manage that relationship and management. Be careful with it. Be careful what you put on there. Be careful what you say. I mean, I think you have to do that with all social media, but just be extra careful with LinkedIn. Um, One of the things I do yearly with LinkedIn is I go through all my contacts and I look to see if, do I know this person? It's kind of like clothing. What do they say? If you don't wear clothing in a year, you don't need it. Donate it or something, you know. I'd kind of do that with LinkedIn. It's like I go through contacts, and if I don't recognize the person, or it's not somebody that I feel is an important contact to me, or somebody, I will eliminate the contact, because you can communicate, you can accumulate people at points where you take them on, even if you're careful like I am, and you need to kind of just clean things up, trim things out a little bit. So, does anybody have any questions on LinkedIn? Do you think I'm off base, on base? Anybody run into the same situations?
No, but I
You got
wanted
any
to make
thoughts
sure,
on it, Diana?
of course, I always have thoughts on every channel. Um, what I want to make sure the students do is that on LinkedIn, you have access to some amazing resources,
Yes.
which include your alumni network.
Mhm.
And so there's a large UCSB writ large alumni network. There's Olay in the Bay, there is Olay LA, all kinds of different student groups. There are lots of UCSB alumni focused on engineering or mathematics or business or whatever. So get on LinkedIn and start looking for your UCSB connections. Use all the things that Todd is telling you about being authentic and, using a message to reach out to people, but access those networks. It's that, to me, is the biggest use of LinkedIn. I don't read people's article that they connect with so and so and so. So I just want to know the name of the company and the contact and the relationship to me. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yep. Okay, next slide. There you go. So my expectations when networking with students. You never know when a networking opportunity will present itself. We've kind of talked about different areas. I mean, today, this is a networking opportunity. Don't be afraid to try it out. Don't be crushed if it doesn't work out. So my message, I think I'm kind of telling you, is genuine connection, be authentic, be, try to connect with people that it can be a legitimate connection. But I'm also saying here, don't be afraid to try it out. And if you try to connect with somebody on LinkedIn and they don't connect with you, or they don't want to, that's okay. I've had that happen before. Somebody I've met along the way, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna, try to be connection, and they don't accept me, and it doesn't work out. It's okay. Strive for authentic connection versus superficial connection. There you go. Don't hit everyone up for everything. Have some connection with a person prior to trying to connect on LinkedIn. Quality over quantity. There you go. You can kind of see it's what I've been talking about. Don't expect anything from me if you do nothing more than send me a request on LinkedIn, include a message or a reason. And again, I remember in my younger days meeting people that were, more accomplished than I was, and trying to reach out to them, and they didn't approve me, and that's okay. That's the way it goes. Next slide, please. There you go. That's it. That is my information. The cdcareers.com is the website for my company, the company I work for, CD, if you want any information on our opportunities. And then that is my email. I can also, I think I can put it in the chat. If anybody has questions or wants to reach out to me, feel free.
Okay. Todd, did you put that in the chat?
I don't think I did.
You want me to grab it and put it in?
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm just gonna type it in.
How do you suggest we make a good first impression? Question from Rahil. That's a great question. Rahil, there's guidelines you can follow. I think, good handshake, make eye contact. One of the things I tell people when you talk to somebody else, try to speak a little slower than you normally do, because if you're nervous, you're going to speak faster than you normally do. So one of the things I say is just try to speak a little bit slower than normal. Right now, I'm speaking a little slower than I normally do. Does it sound like I'm speaking too slowly? I don't think so. But honestly, if you want to make a good first impression, be yourself. Be genuine. Be who you are. And I think most of the time, if you are yourself, and you're doing, the little things that I'm saying with eye contact and, smile. There's another good one. One of the greatest ways to disarm a person you're talking to, smile. That is a great way. If you're talking to somebody and they smile, it's like, wow, you feel good. You know what I mean? So there's little things you can do, but I think that being yourself is the most critical. And be interested in the other person. That's a huge way to make a great impression.
Can I just jump in really quick
Mm-hmm.
to piggyback off that?
Sure.
I would say a lot of the little tips that you just said kind of all exude confidence. So if you can, even if you fake it to yourself, you've already made it one step in putting yourself in that position. So that's good on you. So confidence is really important. I would also say, with the mixer that we're putting on next week, we are showing you which companies are going to be there. If you know which company or a specific person that you are going to network with, if you know who that is and the companies, I would do some research, because even though you are networking and you're talking and it's authentic, it's still really good for you to have some knowledge in the back of your head. Maybe you get nervous and you need to pull something out, then you can ask them about something that's going on in their company, or something like that. So I think that's a good little tip if you are worried that you might mess up or something like that.
Another tip, this just came to me, but another tip is, you don't always, when you're talking to somebody in a networking situation, you don't have to just talk business all the time. Everything doesn't have to be, I'm selling myself to them. If you meet somebody at a mixer, and you don't have to go right into, everything. That's why sports is out there. That's why, there's things like, you could talk about baseball or football or, softball, or, there's other things, but I mean, that you can just talk the weather. That's why those topics are out there. They're kind of just things to, start talking about and get the conversation going. So you don't always have to, every little thing doesn't have to be, moving the rock forward. You're trying to build rapport with someone, you know, and do that naturally, you know. One of the things, if you go into somebody's office ever for an interview, that's one of the greatest things, is look around their office. and see the things they have in their office, that'll tell you what they're interested in a lot of times. They might have, a Niners helmet in their office, or they might have their diploma from where they went to school or whatever. And, this isn't exactly networking, but this is kind of to illustrate, ask that person about, oh, I see you went to Michigan State. I have my diploma here, and they'll start, you know, Draymond Green or whatever, and we start talking about something with Michigan State. Well, I feel great because I'm like, they asked me about my Spartans. That's fantastic. So, you know, in a mixer, it's a little harder to do that because there's not that stuff. But if you listen and pay attention, people will tell you who they are and what they're interested in. Be interested in what they're talking about. It's a sure way to get them to like you.
I also think using LinkedIn to backtrack a couple of slides, kind of based on what you're just saying, is you can use LinkedIn to understand the back. You don't have to necessarily have the visual of what they have on their walls. You can learn about them on LinkedIn.
That's right.
And then be able to ask them questions if you're interviewing. Now, if you're going to a networking mixer, it's a little hard to have that information about who's going to be there to get that information. But after the fact, you can absolutely use the information on LinkedIn to help generate a deeper connection.
Great point.
And networking, who you know, really does make a difference to have a warm lead that hands a resume or recommends that somebody read your resume. It really makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
So does anybody have any more? Oh, here's another question. Do you all recommend messaging over LinkedIn to break the ice prior to a mixer? Boy, I would say that shows a lot of initiative. You can find out who's coming to the mixers. Side note, you can on Handshake for our mixer next week. Sure, do some research and find out who's going to be there, and use that resource.
Yeah, you could do that. I think my advice on that would be to keep it simple. But yeah, I could see, if you see, you send me a message to me or whoever's going to be there and you say, hey, I see you're going to be at this mixer at UCSB on this date. I'm looking forward to meeting you. Yeah, I would think that was good.
Actually, I may have spoken. You can see the name of the company. I'm not sure that the name of the recruiter will be there. So that may have just slowed down that roll a little bit. Sorry about it.
But that's a good point. I don't think that's out of line.
Does anybody have any more questions for Todd?
Thank you, everybody, for having me.
Well, again, we're so thankful to all of you recruiters, to you, Todd, to CED, who's been very supportive of UCSB, and to your willingness to connect with students and share your experience with them. And because you're doing the hiring, we really do want to hear from you, and we're appreciative of your insight. So
I did want to say really quickly, or ask you, Todd, in the spirit of networking, since these students, attended this workshop, this prep with a pro, how, moving forward, if they're interested, send you an email? How do we?
Yeah, they can send me an email. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. What's great about me on LinkedIn is I'm the only person with that name. So that's what Todd Procco, you look me up. I'm the only person with that name on LinkedIn. So yeah, either one. You're welcome to email me and send me a resume or connect on LinkedIn.
Well, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time and your insight.
You're welcome.
And all of that. So thank you, students. I'm giving you a few minutes back from the hour, and enjoy the rest of the day.